Thank you, Mayor. Council, just wanted to thank you all for indulging me on the different format of the packet. It's a little different, but trying to kind of transition into what y'all are accustomed to and kind of my style. And you'll see part of it is some redundancies and what you probably already know in terms of some of the updates and some of the new items that have come about since last or earlier this month and the last of February. You'll notice the first item deals with 125 North Main Street. We have received some updates from the attorney, Mr. Landrum's office, that they are in fact getting the settlement statement together. I believe there is a boundary line agreement that they're trying to work with an adjacent property owner. I don't think there's any issues other than just kind of getting the paperwork together. So we do not have any sort of significant update in terms of a solid time frame, but we do anticipate on that continuing to move forward and getting closer to a closing for that. And that's kind of update on that one. The other item, you may recall last month, we informed you that we had literally the day of the work session received a proposal from Mr. Ben Trail in regards to the stormwater upgrade, Highway 53 and Jones Street. I was uncomfortable moving forward with presenting y'all with a proposal, just in terms of not fully understanding the scope of what he was to do. So Lonnie and I met with Mr. Trail out on site a couple weeks back, walked through the proposal, first walked through the issue, kind of the impetus for the proposal, and then kind of expectations of what would be accomplished through the proposal. Part of it is a pretty significant problem with some pooling in front of the speed burger. I think the final solution would be revealed through his engineering. He would provide some cost construction estimates. One of the requests that I asked is if council were to approve this proposal, he is committed to providing a phased approach, not just a build or no build scenario. But he does think that he can provide a phased approach to try to mitigate some of the pooling. So a phased approach would essentially mean maybe a pond on private partnership with a property owner, public-private, with some drainage system improvements to a drop inlet would kind of be a first phase proposal. Part of it is, if this is something that council would like to move forward with, I have conferred with finance director, and this was an unbudgeted item. So the $18,000 proposal would need to be coming from perhaps one of the water funds or something. And part of the reasoning behind staff's recommendation of a phased approach would merely to then recognize we have no monies in the budget this fiscal year for any improvements that are identified, but it would at least give us the ability to plan for future budget cycles if need be. Or I think Lonnie has stated that one of the property owners has stated that they'd be interested in reviewing any proposal recommendations for them to do the work, which I think would be ideal, and or partner with the city for a particular phase. So that's just kind of long-winded way to say, here is the proposal.
For the engineering part.
Correct. This is just merely the engineering. The 18,000 would capture the kind of a survey, topographical survey, and then kind of modeling for cost construction.
So based on the scale of the engineering part, I'm guessing the scale of the actual project is going to be something that is going to be pretty big.
As with the case, you'll hear me oftentimes, I'll ask engineers or other professionals to give me a little bit of insight. Sometimes they're not comfortable, but it is significant enough for me to realize that at the staff level, and dealing with this in other jurisdictions, it would be a pretty significant project that I want for us to just be aware of not having budgeted monies this year.
But it's something that needs to be done.
That's what I was saying, what would be the ramification if we push it to the next budget? That's what we have to look at, too.
Well, it's been a problem for how many years?
And this year's been the worst one. I mean, it's, we've already got 20, more than 20 inches this year. But
I did want to
saturated anywhere.
just wanted to honor the commitment of getting this to y'all's attention for consideration there. If this is something that we want to put on Monday's agenda for at least further discussion or thought between now and then. That's just kind of what I wanted to do at the staff level.
Council, recommendation? That needs to be discussed.
We look at our options to be able to plan for the future of it.
Well, see what we've got going on over here, I think that's.
Yeah, I don't know that, I want to cover it with Tony, I don't know that I want to put it on Monday's budget considering what we got going on in Cove Road. Maybe
This
we need
has
to
been a
look
problem
at,
for years and years and years. It's something that we have to get done and fix right now, and I
Yeah,
know
we're
something we need to get done.
but, yeah,
We've got other issues that
that
is
need,
a lot
that
more
have to,
pressing than that right now. That's just my opinion. I mean, that's totally-
Would you feel comfortable something saying, you know, you and staff pick up the conversations between business owners you were discussing a while ago, continue that conversation and develop more details and maybe re-present it to council again?
We can certainly, I believe, Lonnie, re-invite the conversation to where if they even want to partner on a proposal, that is an option I think that we could at least offer. Or if we don't get any, we could at least present to y'all next month that there's really not a desire, and then we could just say it's a proposal that if we want to rehash again, I think Mr. Trail would probably honor the price for a period of time. Not to speak on his behalf, but he's kind of indicated he's receptive to it.
I don't really see any reason to put on the agenda with, unless anybody else does. I think Tony's got a good point. We've got some other issues that have to be addressed right now, and then maybe just let you continue the conversations on, you know, what our options might be further down the road.
Very good. And Mayor and Council, I believe the next item, I have conferred, I'll defer to council member to kind of use his words.
So electronic filing permits, it's a wonderful platform. The technology that's in use is secure. I've been going back and researching, talking to other counties, other municipalities. I wanted to get feedback on both of those government levels. Counties often see larger amounts as far as volume. And talking to them, I don't really see any negative effects. There are other options out there. We were presenting with one. There are other options out there, more robust options. There are very simple options. So what I would say is what we were looking at would be one of the simpler platforms. As far as budgetary constraints on the city, there's no, you know, there's nothing there coming out of budget for the city. It's paid for by the folks who apply. With that being said, I don't know that it's something we have to jump on right now. What I would like to see is us look at the other options as a council. So we've been presenting one idea. If in the future we can plan to see some more, if I can pull some other folks in and show you other options. There are some that have cost associated with them up front, and then maintenance fees. There are some that are free, just like this platform. I don't want us to move too quickly on something just because it is free. I wanna make sure we're getting something that's of quality, that will be sustainable long-term for the city. That's about the update I have.
Randy, you have experience with this sort of, not necessarily this one, but similar.
It was an integrated format with kind of a lot of departments, one platform that they just kind of build different suites off of it. So it wasn't, we had when I first arrived, one just for the development department, like a blueprints or it was electronic filing, but I think it was probably not utilized. I think it was still paper. So the integration of kind of finance, customer service, admin, and building just kind of did different suites.
And the thing too, we gotta think of not just about what's easy for the city, it's gonna be easy for the other agencies we're gonna have to share information with.
Mm-hmm.
So will they be able to use it? So you just want to leave it in committee and
Yes, sir.
working on it?
Yes, sir.
And the next one, if I may, not to speak on Councilman, but would like to say that I appreciate Lisa kind of confirming some dates for us in terms of if council were to want to move forward with the brunch bill, if you will, the alcohol referendum, we would need to get the language or the title to them by August. So in consultation with the attorney, Mr. Pickett, he and I stated, unfortunately, there's the last several weeks have been different things that's monopolized some time to shore up the title, and I did tell him that I think we're probably good to approach this at a May and still have plenty of time for a June consideration and still give us July and August to get something to the county. The percentage, the attorney did comment that there had been a question about the percentage. The ratio that we do have is consistent with state law within the allowable limits of doing the brunch of 50-50. So that percentage would not need to be modified.
What are the time frames?
For the
What's going to be the
What's
change?
changing?
it would
Go ahead.
it would be from 11 a.m. to 12:30 on Sundays.
Yeah, they go from 12:30 to 11. Right now, they can't serve alcohol till 12:30 on Sundays. And this would go in line with the state for the 11 o'clock.
And when we approve that, we moved that time a couple of times, haven't we?
We've always stayed in line with the state.
Right,
Yeah.
so now we want to go below what the state.
No, the state has a new,
But we have to have a referendum to do it.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I
So-
think we first started out, we had talked about starting to sell at 1. And I don't know how, for some reason, we got to 12.
It was on a referendum what time it was going to
We
be.
were trying to wait and let all the churches and everybody get out.
Mhm.
And for some reason, we got back to the 12:30 deal. How long ago has the state always been 11 o'clock?
No,
No, they
changed
just changed that
last election. right?
last election.
Well, have we had that much input as far as?
We've got a business that wants to do brunch.
So it'll be 11 o'clock or 11:30.
11 o'clock.
So
And
an
that's
hour and a half
in line with
early.
the state now that they changed theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're, they feel like they're competing with Canton and the places around us that are
The
doing it.
state's just making local governments do it.
Pretty much.
And that's how it came about, was a request from one of the business owners.
So what staff would propose is we would shore up the language.
Would the state not have a model ordinance?
They do, yes, sir. Yes. I felt more comfortable having Mr. Pickett just kind of give his signature, if you will, before I presented y'all with the title for even considering. because it would still need to be considered to even go to a referendum.
And what are the election dates again?
No.
You said June.
Oh, no, so we
We
could,
gotta have it turned in by October.
we got to turn it in by August and for the November ballot.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Plenty of time. And Mayor, if you'd like, you can kind of add some comments, but the committee that Mayor Weaver appointed to review the gateway to the mountains, the plan 108-515, we did meet last Friday, and we had a pretty good productive meeting. Mayor, I don't know if you wanted to divulge any specifics, but the developer, if you will, did come in on Monday, just kind of turned this information over and said, if you'd like for us to consider any changes to our comments, get it to us.
I think the council would like a little, probably would appreciate a little update as to what we discussed.
Yes, sir. We specifically, and Councilman Faust, if I forego any kind of highlights, y'all can add in, but ultimately it was looking at the PUD. It did meet some of the basic requirements of the PUD in terms of the necessary 10% green space, the necessary density. The density could go to 8 units per acre. He was at about 4.25 units per acre, just rough numbers. And that was kind of the major things. They had already identified that they were going to do sidewalks. It wasn't reflected on the plan. So part of what I communicated to the committee as well as to the developer was that anything that is brought before the council from a committee level would have the ability to offer their input as well, that if there was something missed or the developer wasn't too keen on, it would be stepped out. Essentially, on the plan set, there'd be a stipulation that the plan is approved as presented with So what we're trying to do is go ahead and put some of those items in there, such as the driveways, being able to accommodate, up to 4 vehicles essentially. There may be some parcels that would have a shorter driveway of 18 feet. So I said that's okay in terms of once you have your civil engineer lay out, but be mindful we're looking for 20 plus additional off-street parking, just in terms to accommodate guests, visitors, etc. in the development. Because 100 units, and it was 106, it is now 100. There may be 1 or 2 more that are lost to accommodate some parking. The amenities was another important element of the plan for a clubhouse, gathering space, swimming pool. I cannot recall if he committed to the tennis courts, but it was a very short meeting. I essentially turned over the notes that the committee had provided to say, just see if these are accommodations you can meet.
Go ahead, I didn't want to interrupt you.
That was the highlights.
Okay, I would just tell the council a little bit about our concern for some type of playground facility.
Yes, sir.
Even though it's over 55, that these people will be grandparents and they'll have children, and if they could make some facility available. Explain a little bit what we talked about.
Yes, we just, even though that we would require them to, before final CO of the development, there would need to be the illustration that they have a file, covenants, HOA, age restricted, and so we still want them to have accommodations for kids. What that looks like, we have not dictated exactly, other than there needs to be something specifically identified on the plan that can accommodate, whether it's a dog park and incorporation of some playground free space in the common areas. I said I'm not looking for you to do a full-on $250,000 playground set that you see at a public park, but there need to be something that,
And didn't they talk about that in originally when we came to us?
I don't think so. I mean, they're talking about the 55-year plus, but most of those people are grandparents. I've been in 55-year plus with children running around, so.
So
You don't outlaw children.
Neither one of those requirements are in the code though, right? As far as the driveway or the playground?
no, sir. But part of what his understanding is that the approval in August of the PUD was that it were to be brought back to council for final approval. So ultimately, we essentially told him that the committee recommends him addressing these concerns and or issues prior to final submission.
And this is setting the standard for any type of PUD that we would.
Yes, the plan review process, kind of the way that I was accustomed to doing it is whether it's through committee or whether it's through consultants, staff in concert with all of us, is to essentially say the code in and of itself is, you have to meet the basic elements of that. And then in terms of additional requirements, that's a best practice and or just in terms of things that you can't always legislate, like the kids' playground or something. That's
Right.
just it's a good business decision for the community.
And then the parking is really for safety.
We can find the same situation in Arbor Hills today. Some of the properties have plenty of space and some don't, and they'll park on the streets.
You don't want
And the neighbors get upset really quick.
Parking's part of the code though, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we were wanting, we're wanting to make sure that you don't have a car here and a car here, the kid scoops out and gets run over.
And the fact that they're asking for 106 or 100 units is quite high density.
It was 4 when they could do 8. They went from R3 to residential, R2 for mixed use.
And the fortunate part is there did not seem to be any sort of negative pushback. There seemed to be an understanding that he would like to move forward in the process. And I told him, I think it's understandable that your civil engineer may not put everything on the plan set, but be mindful that we at the staff level, once council approves, would at least have that stepped out so that it helps us in the process.
Are they moving dirt down there specifically?
They do have their,
Land disturbance.
yes, sir.
That was the other project we hadn't had a committee meeting with respect to
I
that.
have not arranged that much.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What do they anticipate their start date as, depending on when they get approved? Or
I do not
just curious?
know. Ashamed to admit, of all the other stuff, I didn't really get into that.
I guess they meant March of 2020 they were going to have product for us.
And I think there's going to be some elevations of, some renderings of the units as well. I would like to just thank y'all for allowing me to at least bring this up. I did speak with our provider, information system provider, and I will say from my experience in communicating with the elected body, I do a lot of stuff electronically, so email is important. I'm not certain why there are some challenges with the email. However, to basically solve that issue seamlessly, I think in consultation with Lisa, there is some monies that we could identify in the budget to accommodate city purchasing some tablets, specifically iPads, that could then be city issued. So the packet that you're getting now would essentially be a PDF packet that you would have on your tablet that you could then just have right now looking through any email correspondence, as I've done this week through the code incident. You'd be able to have that, because I do think that it's important. Sometimes I can't always communicate on the telephone as quickly. And so I would like, it will be, I'm using the number of $2,500 just because it's not a too much of an expense. I don't want to go crazy and get the $1,000 iPad, but I think there's some value in getting one of the models of iPads that are pretty inexpensive now that could accommodate ETC, putting the Jasper email address on, and I know at that moment, if there are issues, that could be turned over seamlessly for fixing the problem without you having your phone or your laptop or otherwise. And Mayor, I'm not sure if that is something that is of an operational manner, that's an update, or if that would be more comfortable bringing to a Monday discussion.
Have you got an estimate of the cost?
I did not go into that, no sir, just because I wanted to make sure I wasn't going too terribly far out of line with the.
So basically, everyone will have a pad
Yes.
that would have their email on it?
Now,
No
you're
big
talking
time.
about property heads?
No sir, y'all, the elected bodies.
Us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we had a council meeting.
And everything
So they
on
don't
there
know
will
what
be,
the issue is as to why everybody can't get their emails?
Quite candidly, I didn't dwell on that
Yeah.
because I think there was a look of,
Lots of-
without investigating too further each individual case, I said, I'm gonna make it simple. If this is proposed and approved, at that moment, I've had this city issued that's essentially an iPad, that's an iPhone, and I've had no dropped emails to my knowledge, unless.
That's how it happens. You
Well,
don't know about it.
Yeah, I sent you two today, they came back.
somebody fuzzes at you for
Yeah.
not answering your email.
From a technology standpoint, to be really just plain and simple, when you're operating off different platforms, and we all have our different devices, and they'll have different settings and internal operating systems, and different settings that you've personally set on your device, it's difficult for anyone, including ETC, to come in, even at their job, and say, here's how to fix the solution, or how to fix problem and create a solution.
And the thing is,
Someone's
with
got
the older
iPhones,
stuff
someone's
that's
got
not
Androids.
supported anymore,
So what
the
this
stuff's
would,
going away.
what this would allow us to do, I believe, is to come up with a uniform platform to operate off on. When an issue occurs with one of us, it's probably going to occur with all of us. And then there's a solution in
Because
place.
if you have all the settings set the same way,
Correct. And I think that we would have to rely on you or ETC to make sure that's all uniform.
I can tell you, Piedmont, when we changed to an electronic format for our board meetings, there was a lot more participation from the board, and when they had access to that permanent record, basically like carrying a file around with you.
I hate to throw cold water on this, but the Open Records Act, all the issues with the Sunshine Law, you might check into that before Monday as well, since you're gonna have everybody on the same platform. That's basically having a meeting that's not public. You're discussing issues, and be careful what you just check.
And
You might want to call GMA and see what their thoughts on it.
Oh, and being mindful, we did institute this in the last jurisdiction, and there is the sentiment that everything on that particular device is subjected to open record at any point in time. So it is in terms of, in the spirit of openness, any emails like I've sent out about the code, anything that someone requests.
They are.
One
Yeah, they
council
are.
member start talking to other council members, more than 3, you're gonna have an issue with Sunshine Law.
Well, I think
believe
and don't let me mislead, in my
Just
verbiage.
check on it,
Yeah.
make sure.
When I'm discussing platform, I'm talking basically Android versus iPhone or Apple, all going through the Exchange server, which is what we already have.
You might do it if you shot everything to Pickens County Progress or no Pickens.
And you
So
might
we
not
start
get it till
communicating
next
privately
week.
among ourselves, they frown on that.
But, well, and, yeah, what we've got now is open records.
Well, not just open records, you don't have to have open records, you cannot have meetings unless we're here right now with the press. And
Right,
if you're meeting technologically speaking, that's a meeting, so you need a definition from somebody that will tell you you can or can't do it.
So you could verify, like, if you send us emails, we're all gonna be opening them different times, probably,
I would-
not necessarily.
He can communicate with,
we
but I don't
just
think
need
y'all
to do
communicate
Skype.
with each other.
Right.
Right.
Well, as
We don't
long
have to have the press here either. We can give them the opportunity to be here, but.
as my understanding through some AG opinions and whatnot, as long as you're not making decisions relative to a particular item, mine is more of an information sharing that is then discussed at a meeting that has been properly advertised. And so any sort of rebuttal and/or others would then have to be shared, and then that's where I kind of stand out at the staff level and say, well, this is information being provided uniformly to make sure you all get consistent information that is then reiterated similarly to this packet. Everything that we're discussing that I sent out in the packet is being presented at the meeting. And so that's kind of, but I will, Mayor, get kind of some confirmation.
Well, when we go to Savannah, whatever, be a mass text about where dinner's gonna be. It's okay in Savannah, but it's not good here. You gotta leave town actually to be able to do that. By, I believe the last time I looked at the state law. Just make sure that we don't get in trouble with that and leave me off until we get it squared away.
Okay.
But you send it to me.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it'd be
So
too
you're
easy,
gonna
it'd be
look
too
at-
easy to
you're
govern the other way.
You're gonna further look at this and give us some update on it.
Yes. Okay. On the next item, Mayor, this is one, I believe another committee of you, Councilmember Proctor and Attorney Pickett. It was the Planning and Zoning Board Ordinance, kind of a housekeeping measure. Article 5 of boards, Division 3 Planning and Zoning Board. It enumerated just and then elaborated a little more and aligned itself with the other boards in our code of ordinances. Really not speaking of anything dealing with zoning. It's just the composition of the board, the membership requirements, organization rules. Just at the staff level, this would be recommended as an amendment into our existing Article 5, Division 3, Section 2-382, as highlighted.
And if you will explain that to the camera, please, what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Part of what staff is proposing is in the Jasper Code of Ordinances, there is a section devoted to different boards and commissions. The Planning and Zoning Board has a one sentence that essentially defers to state law, OCGA, for planning, with no further elaboration of composition of the membership, meaning how many members, the process of appointment and ratification of said appointments, along with just something simple as a simple majority of the Planning and Zoning Board shall constitute a quorum, just to identify that. And then they are responsible for organization and rules, if they have any sort of standing meetings monthly. And basically, they are empowered by the council for carrying out the duties as delegated to them.
And the duties specifically for the Planning Commission is to hold public hearings, to hear the outcry of the public about concerns they have for changing of zoning issues.
Correct, yes, sir. That is correct.
And then they have no decision-making power except to defer and refer to the council.
That is correct, yes, sir. They are a recommending body. They are not a decision-making body. I will point out that at the staff level, and this is just something that I was not accustomed to. I'm not saying that it's not appropriate one way or the other, but you'll notice I did strike out the last sentence of their Section 2-384 memberships. where the last sentence is, all members shall serve with $50 per meeting compensation and may be reimbursed for actual expenses incurred in connection with their official duties. That is something I think we currently do. I am perfectly okay with continuing to do that. I just did it to invoke a conversation of if we want to continue that practice, or just leave in that we'll reimburse them for actual expenses they incur, but the $50 could then be diverted towards any sort of training sessions. In my last position, we would yearly hold, or every other year hold, some sort of program at City Hall where Carl Vincent or another entity would come in, give a workshop, and then we could then, at the city, expense that out and pay for that.
If I might, for years we did not do that for Planning Commission. And back in the 90s, when we decided to annex quite a bit of property into the city, there was a lot of controversy. And a lot of time was put forth by the Planning Commission. They were getting called once a month, or at the back when Jim Looney was actually on the Planning Commission. And we as a council then determined that it was seemed to be fair and appropriate to pay those people a little extra because they meet so often, where you have the other boards never meet unless there's a variance issue, and that's a very rare thing. So that's why that's in place, to compensate these people for as much time as we're going to need them. And I think that may be more of an issue once the economy begins to really turn around, we'll be needing them more.
Do they
So,
meet monthly now?
no, they meet when required, but sometimes it's like last month, they met twice, almost back to back to get through the issue. But it's something, the council enjoys the $50 fee for coming in and
No, I
spending
mean, I just
time
wondered,
here.
I wasn't sure when they.
That's why the council then did that. It was not just throw the money away.
I think
And also, we charged it to the developer. The fees went up on the developer who was wanting to change the zoning. So it's about $300 or $400 to have a zoning change.
I think if we do it, we ought to have it ought to be done uniformly for any of our appointed folks. And I don't know what the dollar amount that would amount to, but
We'd have to charge a fee to cover. We charge a fee to cover this in the zoning.
there's also the education that these people need to understand exactly what their expectations are. And that it is actually a sworn position. There should be an oath that's given, and this is all coming from our charter. Matter of
There has
fact,
been.
the charter, I think some of the folks don't recall that that's happened. I don't know whether it has or not, but they don't recall that they've been under oath. And the other thing, the charter actually dictates that we establish these powers of all of our boards, commissions, and this is just part of trying to get that all the same across the board. So.
And the only thing that I would add is I did consult with finance, and I believe we did budget for the $50 expense. So it wasn't necessarily a matter of that. It was just a matter of me injecting my commentary, if you will. So
And I agree with Dr. Buckler. Anybody who shows up and puts their time in, whatever board it would be, would deserve some compensation for their time, especially when you get called up 3 or 4 times a month. And I think there's some planned, trying to be planned for some changes. So I don't know. They appreciated it back when we did it for them.
So I'll reinstitute that in, and at the staff level, we can still look at training ways that a lot of times it's one of the measures we've done in the past too that I've done is we've incorporated other communities wherein we would charge a fee. That fee for the training session would help us offset the cost of us hiring the firm, and then we'd essentially pay for the food or something. So that would be a way that we could address to make sure any number of boards would get some training. So I'll So Mayor, I don't know if y'all like for this to be added to Monday's agenda for the first reading. I did confirm with Mr. Pickett that everything was in proper order for our first reading.
Yeah, are you going to expand the board? Did you already?
Oh, yes, it would, I believe now, there are 3 persons on the board.
That's the paragraph you're changing?
Actually, this is, all of it is consistent language with the others. As it is now, there's only one sentence that essentially defers to OCGA.
Okay.
So this is language I took from the other boards, such as the created, the appointment is established, the city planning and zoning board, which shall consist of 5 members, the mayor may appoint, the board will advise consent of the city council. I think right now we didn't enumerate, I think as a practice we did 3. I've had difficulties in time at local government with getting 3 members, and the mayor and I did talk about this. I'm comfortable with 5. We had, in the other jurisdiction I came from, we had 9 planning members. So I would suggest
You're trying to outnumber the crowd that's come to fuss and cuss at you.
I wouldn't, I never thought of that. I never thought of it. So I think the 5 number is something that could be an option for consideration, because then if we were to have a vacancy, so to speak, within the board, then you could still hold a quorum of 3.
You could hold a quorum of 2 with a 3.
Correct.
And my feeling on this always has been is that this board simply is here. It's a little awkward with trying to run a 3-person meeting. You're trying to find out who's going to make the motion, who's going to second it, and it is awkward looking. And it's awkward looking and sometimes not professional looking for the group who has come to ask for the zoning change or the annexation and or the people who are opposed to it. So more number there would be more professionals looking, but at the same time, again, they make no decision. They're there to let you ask questions, present your case, and then make a simple recommendation to council. And many a time the council has gone against the recommendation of the planning commission. Not many times, a few times. And but if you want to change it, that's fine. It's just council still gets to make the decision at the end, and they sit up there and listen to the people. But if you get 4 or 5, you might get different opinions, but still you still get a recommendation. The council still makes the decision.
I think we need to get to a point where we do rely on their recommendation very heavily, and I think we've done that. And there may be times where, when we did that, we made wrong decisions. And I'm not making any specific suggestion out of that.
It's not required, is it?
I also think there's more people interested in serving on these boards, and we're going to be able to accommodate more opinions of our citizens, and that's how I feel about it.
So you want to go to 5 or 4?
My suggestion would be 5, but that's just at the staff level.
So you have the chairman and 4 people, which you could have tie more often than not, and the chair gets to split the recommendation to the council.
I have a question on the part that you struck out on the 3rd paragraph, on the actual expenses incurred. Do we know? Do they have other actual expenses?
They could.
I'm not sure, like travel reimbursement or
Travel,
something, if they were to have to, if it suggested that there's a development in an adjoining location, they could go and look. I'm not sure of any specifics of late. I would, I've already commented to put back in the 50, just because I think that it is important to continue moving in the same manner, and then to make the commitment of getting some training opportunities and figuring out a way that I've done in the past.
Well, and that's what I was that was kind of where I was leading to, I guess, is, I'm with him. I think everybody, you're asking these people to come out here. I'm okay with the $50, but I was just curious as to what the actual other expenses. So,
Brandon, have you ever had experiences where your planning and zoning board asks for a legal opinion, or does that always wait till it gets to the council?
In terms of
just what the law, how the law perceives or sees what they're asking for.
Similarly, what we would do at the staff level is provide a similar packet on a development, our proposal, and it's a little different setup too, where we only have one planning and zoning commission that hears variances and other stuff, so we don't have the variance board. So there are the occasions to where they want some sort of guidance of precedent setting, if we were to do this. So we would oftentimes be prepared to provide a legal comment.
At the public hearing part?
Yes, sir.
Did you look at the possibility of combining the zoning board of appeals and the planning commission?
Out of respect for just being here a few weeks, I was bold enough to strike out this.
That would give you 5 people.
That would, so.
There's a building and construction board or commission, does that?
No, I think that's kind of the planning commission.
Does that ever meet?
I think.
No, it's something different.
Would that be the zoning board of appeals?
The construction, my understanding is the construction is if the building official renders, or makes a requirement that they would want
To appeal?
to appeal.
That more often than not has been the council.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a board there, and I don't know if it's manned or not, but.
And more often than not in the past, it's been the mayor and then we come to the council, so.
I'm comfortable, if the council's comfortable, Mayor, that we can move forward and doing, because the approach taken oftentimes at the staff is just present you all with some information, consideration. I think.
Will this help us get to a point where we can actually vote for a planning commission?
Yes, sir.
We get to vote?
Well, I call for a motion and y'all can either vote for it or not. That's where we're at right now.
Consent and.
Vote is a consent.
Yeah.
If you deny it, you just vote against it.
So we're ready to move.
Them or whomever.
I'd like to just consider a first reading on Monday, if permitted.
Do you have any, I'm fine with that, I'm sure the council is as well. They're not, they'll vote against it, but, do we have any potential hearings in the near future?
We do have a pending application, yes, sir.
Okay.
And that was not something that I put on this agenda, but I do anticipate on coordinating with Lisa for consideration on Monday night, which is the mayoral appointments for consideration. I don't think there was anything that was necessary for tonight, since it's been kind of an item on agendas. But I do at the staff level would like to put that on Monday for consideration. Just in respect of pending application.
We'll put it on the agenda and see what happens.
Now, if I may, good news. Good
I
news.
think to say, this is the best you've heard yet.
Good news.
Yes, it is, I agree, Tony.
The final amount, I will have to say a humorous story. Chief Roper had originally thought that the low end would be $7,400, up to potentially $30,000. At one point, we thought with some other added expenses, it would be $8,900. And I told him I should have just said $8,900, and then when it came in at $77,000, then we saved $1,200. But as it is, the $77,0230, I believe you have a copy of it that we turned into finance. So it has been out on scene as of, I believe, last Friday, and it was in operation for 2 or 3 hours. And as of now, I've had no reports of issues.
Good.
Do we have a new AED mentioned to you yet? Or are they?
I have not noticed. I have not, I'm sorry. And now, the next item, Mayor, is updates of sorts that does kind of play into a future discussion item on this agenda, but the 2019 paving, Lonnie is here, obviously. He was prepared to discuss kind of a list he was going to get with Lisa to get together a bid packet. I'm not sure if council wants to go too much into that, as we do have some other items of interest with the Cove Road, but I will definitely defer Mayor to what you and council would like to hear from Lonnie.
Yes, sir, we need to get the rest of the roads paved, so be happy to hear it.
Well, I've been, the last couple of days, I've made a list of the streets. I will have a copy for each one of you Monday. These streets, the different colors designate whether the city's gonna pave it or the county. The burnt orange color stripes is 2 private roads that we will not pave, because they are private.
What roads are they?
Travelers Rest that goes into the Waffle House and Dean Goss Drive. All these others are city, county streets. I've designated which ones are which. And I just want to verify between now and Monday that this is everything, but it still comes in just under 10 miles of street, and we'll have everything in the city completely paved.
The reason those 2 roads are private is obvious that they're dead ends into a development. If they had a little thought to move it through the development, it would have been a public road.
You're talking about the Waffle House over here,
Yes.
and that's concrete, isn't it?
It's
It is, and we can't resurface over concrete. And there is a couple of other roads that, according to tax records, are in individuals' names, but when the developments was built, I'm sure that they were turned over to the city.
Magnolia Station, which is that,
No,
that
Magnolia.
got changed. Okay.
Philadelphia Lane, going up by Goss Equipment, all of those roads were turned over to the city, but it failed to get transferred some way or another into.
They couldn't pay taxes on them, did they?
Well, they're still in their names, but everybody I've talked to on those 2 roads over in that area,
that needs to be converted.
they have agreed to, all I gotta do is get them to sign a quick claim deed, and then it'll be turned, we can fix it in the tax office.
And that's owned by different people.
Yeah.
And the other one is, and actually Dean Goss Drive now is owned by different,
Owned by Shiloh Church.
they own everything still?
Yes.
Okay, so they've got, and the other one is Tom Phillips, I think, owns Travelers Rest.
Yes. So that's just a list that I've compiled in the last 2 days after doing other things, but I will have a updated list to make sure that I haven't left anything off.
What about the racetrack? Is that on here?
Yes, it is. I think it's.
You're gonna pave it all the way down like
Yes.
they talked?
That's the way I've measured it.
All right.
I've never even knew that little strip going out to the Waffle House.
Well, you got any estimates? I know you don't have the bids.
No, I do not have any estimates.
How many feet is it?
It's 9.26.
Total?
Had been
miles.
Right there, okay.
having a good time, I know that.
Yeah.
That'll get it all.
That'll have every street in the city researched, yes.
Okay. Lisa, how much do we have in our account?
9.1 million.
Okay. That'll get that, and money left, should be some left over, which that'll make you feel better.
Did you see that list?
What we're looking at, I thought when we finish this, we'll work on sidewalks, but that's something you think about. With
Well, the splash.
with the emergencies you have.
The splash for this year was figured for sidewalks. And we've done, you got it, haven't you? The splash. I mean, not splash, the Lamig, excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming in.
Yeah, it's come in already,
67,000.
and it was set aside for sidewalks.
And the SPOS is gonna be up next year?
It'll be up for renewal in 2020, yes. And we've discussed that with the commissioner, and he's talking to the county attorney and trying to get a time to set up and discuss it more.
Okay. So with that, we've discussed that possibly we'll be able to help pay for some of the wastewater project. And all that'll be discussed when we get into the discussion with the county.
And Mr. Mayor, Council, unfortunately, we do not have, David Hall and I were attempting to meet with Mr. Chris Proget to get a more definitive update. Unfortunately, some circumstances, he could not make it, which is fine. But just to report, in the last meeting, I wanted to make sure we were keep it in tow to get the rebid or the repainting for the A.W. Lawson tank. You may recall the March 4th meeting, I did authorize staff to solicit their assistance and pay for that. So we hope to give you a more definitive idea of the bid packet and what that would come in, most likely in the May timeframe. But we did budget, I believe, $100,000 for that with some guidance in previous times. David, I don't know if there's anything you want to talk specifically about that, but I think that's pretty much summarizes. And similarly, Mr. Mayor and Council, I believe last month y'all heard from the Veterans Memorial Boulevard and our veterans, Mr. Ray Smith. Unfortunately, he was trying to reach me yesterday and I was unable to get back with him. So that is my apologies to him. But ultimately, in conversations, we had ordered the signage as y'all had directed, and Mr. Smith was wanting to make sure, oh, there you go, Lonnie. It's good. And I'm not sure if we've gotten a lead time on that yet, if we're still.
Yes, I checked today, they should be delivered by the second week in April.
Good. And Mr. Smith would like for the mayor and council to consider having kind of unveiling of sorts of the signage. So just wanted to put that on y'all's radar, and we'll keep y'all updated.
Let's not put it 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Well, and I'll be honest, it would be wonderful for a Saturday sometime, so none of us have to take off work. And farmers market's there, and it'd be a wonderful experience just to go and mingle.
Would be a good time, because they're right.
Yes.
And, you know,
It does hurt.
all except for those of us that are retired would have to take off work.
Yeah, that really worked out well for me.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, that kind of concludes some of the issues in previous meetings and discussions. I would like to begin on some new items that I had the pleasure of meeting with some of our staff, and some budgeted items that we had talked about. And although we do have other looming items that we'll get to, just to ensure that y'all know we're looking at making sure we operate with springtime coming up. We do have a zero-turn budgeted for the street department, and you'll notice on here we were able to solicit 4 quotes. The apparent low bid is out of town in Blue Ridge, and it's $89 less than a local company here in Jasper that can do some in-house repairs or warranty work if needed. So you'll notice it's highlighted. We would obviously reserve any recommendation at this moment, but I think it might be worthwhile to at least consider putting on Monday's agenda albeit we'll just kind of see how the remainder of this meeting goes and Monday. But just the spirit of what was already moving forward, put it on y'all's radar.
Can we get that in green? That's a joke, but it's funny.
Out of curiosity, I saw one that says, as is no warranty. Is that the case with all of these?
False. It should be all, which one says no.
These are all new, right?
Yes, sir.
Do we have zero turns now?
Yeah.
What the idea is for, if we were to move forward with the budget to purchase for the street department, we would forego the zero turn in the water department. David's department, I think, utilized one of the zero turns last year, did some repairs to the decking. We would kind of reassign it to his crew, thereby allowing him to forego a zero turn in his, and then Adam could have the new zero turn for more of the manicured lawns and cleaner cut, if you will.
So
Is this in their budget?
Yes, ma'am.
So we perform in-house repair and maintenance on most of our equipment?
This would be, to my knowledge, to warrant, under the warranty, yes, it's 1 year.
Okay, and that was my question. I know that one of this says doesn't do in-house repair. Have we looked at,
I'm sorry, in their shop.
In their house.
Yes.
Not our house, yes.
yes, with theirs, looking at what warranty work can be done, is one better than the other as far as if we're out of warranty, one's $200 an hour versus $75 an hour, do you know that?
In terms of between the top two, so
Yes.
to speak, I did not get into that.
Because there's not much, I mean, there is a difference in price, but if long-term, talking about maintenance and repairs, if it does have to go out, make sure we're taking care of there.
So some of the equipment, Kubotas and, or some of them are John Deere's?
Yeah, we tried to
Well,
spec it as close as possible to each other, trying to compare apples to apples, the local vendors.
Really?
Side discharge
Oh. Oh.
versus side.
I didn't know that
This
either.
is the one you're looking at.
So I didn't even- No.
There's a Goss did not submit a bid. Were they familiar with the?
I am not sure, Mayor, if, I believe we solicited these bids from the vendors, and I'm not sure if they were on the list to solicit. I can find out for you.
Well, they're a local dealer, and he's hit me up a few times, make sure he's on the list. I'd hate to see him tomorrow.
Robert.
Well, he needs to be if he's not.
I will definitely find that out.
Let's see, I'm gonna look at. Yeah, that's what,
Tell me more, Bill.
Did I?
I believe
No,
they have.
they've got a
administrative
different
laws.
brand that they're pretty proud of.
Yeah.
But I will find that out, sir, and if not, we will also allow them the opportunity to spec that prior to any decision being made. Which does bring us to the next item in regards to the purchase of vehicles. The one reason why I wanted to, at the staff level, to move this matter forward is specifically because at the time, car number 7, engine essentially went kaput, and we do have monies available in that budget for a new motor. We had $6,000. We're spending $3,000 for the new motor. It's in the shop now being installed. However, we do have some monies budgeted for a new pursuit truck, and it's a couple of months lead time, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. In the event, if council were to consider this, we can make this a situation where in a month or two it could be in service. And I believe the reason staff is recommending a pursuit truck, the various dealers reached out on the Explorers, was the cost for the Explorer was $32,000, and the only Explorers that are on lots are, I believe, 2020s. They've already released the Pursuit Explorer 2020s. So the truck, I believe, was $33,900, and I think the truck that was recently purchased was well received and it's being utilized, and the cost differential was not too much. And the equipment from the Explorer that was involved in the accident will not fit a 2020 Explorer. So that equipment will have to be surplus to the vendor. They have indicated that they would offer us some sort of rebate or discount, if you will, credit for any equipment we'd have to purchase. So with that, we reached out to local for Ford truck and about 6 times and did not receive a favorable response or a quote. The vendor, I believe, has been used in the past. Ronnie Thompson did provide one for $33,900. If this is something that council would like for us to put before y'all on Monday, we can. Or once again, as this meeting continues, I'm going to defer a lot tonight, just in light of what we're about to have to get into.
Well, one thing I did, I talked to several of the policemen that drove in the truck, and they seem to like it. They said it's up higher, they can see better. I mean, they're very happy with the truck.
Yes, sir.
Which is a good thing.
And it, from a city manager's perspective, because the price differential is not that great, I don't have too much heartburn recommending that what the department would like operationally, less than $200 difference. And you're going to have to buy the equipment one way or the other, so you can't replace. When we began this journey, we had looked at, well, let's get the Explorer and just put the equipment and you save $5,000. Well, unfortunately, the 2020s that are on lots now won't.
What kind of money did we get for insurance recovery?
I believe $15,000. But once again, Mayor, I think in the spirit of getting to another item, I'm not even real comfortable making a suggestion just yet, other than this could be possibly considered for a Monday meeting, just to let the departments know that we are interested in continuing to operate, but being mindful of other pending matters.
How many vehicles we have operational now in the PD?
I meant to get that this week, sir, and I apologize. I got distracted. It had been on my mind to get kind of an itemized list and inventory of sorts. I will look at that for Monday, regardless of how we move forward.
How many do we normally have?
About 8 or 9, 7 or 8, it depends. I think we lost half the fleet in the crash a month or so ago. I think they said 4, didn't they? How many we get back online?
One was total. I think we've gotten 2 back, and I think 7 is the one with the engine blown. It's the end. Yes, sir. I think I'm proud of myself for remembering 7. Or number 7. I have no idea, so I believe that's good. Once again, Mr. Mayor and Council, just to kind of put on y'all's radar, I've had conversations with JYSA. There is the sentiment that we're going to continue as the weather changes and we get some good weather. I've spoken with Councilman Faust, and there had been the idea of would we want to reallocate monies that was budgeted for the upper field pole lights of 10,000. I think the recommendation would still be to move forward with looking at repainting those lights. I think there is some monies that JYSA have put into the table to do some repairs or do something to the field house up there, along with some batting cages. So I'm going to have to dive deeper into some of the specifics, but I thought it was worthwhile to bring to y'all's attention that they do have some monies that they do want to help leverage with any city dollars we can. Mr. Mayor and Council, we have a dog park over at the Duck Pond at City Park. I hope I hit all those. We've put in some new runs and whatnot, so it's looking good. It's being utilized. Encourage you to go out and look at it. And I would like to ask Mr. Lonnie if he could stand and just kind of present a feel-good idea.
Okay, I don't want to mention the person's name tonight, but there's an individual here in the city and county that has put a lot into the pets and animals of this city and county, both combined. We've got a rendering here. We'd like to put a marble marker at the park and have the park dedicated to this individual's name, and I will be asking you to give us permission to do that, and on Monday night. And I think most of you will recognize this person. Huh?
Very, very, very good choice. None no better.
We worked on a name for two or 3 months, and then this name came up, and
None no
That
better.
gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
That's it?
yes, that's a rendering of
Don't let the camera see.
what we're gonna ask for Monday night.
And I think part of it, Mayor and Council, is Lonnie would like to obviously present this formally to y'all Monday, so then we could get authorization to get the proper stuff for the unveiling on a beautiful, beautiful April sunny day.
Saturday.
A sunny Saturday.
Let's go back to Saturday.
Sunny
Let's go back to Saturdays.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
That's up to you all.
I'm just, first I've heard about it.
Well, me too.
Me too.
See, we've been keeping it a secret.
I guess he can get in there, dear.
Or do we want to wait till it's made?
Well, the decision needs to be made. Are we gonna vote for this Monday night?
It's just gonna be a flag. so
And be announced.
There's enough to do.
The materials for this and the engraving is gonna cost around $400.
Should we ask for bigger one?
We can, yes.
If council approves it, it'd be terrible if they don't.
Extend that invitation.
Name after John Faust or not.
Are we gonna invite him Monday?
Mr. Mayor, Council, we do have another item that's being presented. It's a little unexpected, but during a routine maintenance check by David and his team, it was revealed that the bottom 108 lift station, as well as the 2 pumps of the hospital, were deficient and needed addressing for some rebuild. Quite candidly, I'm not proficient enough to say what needs to be done, so I'm going to ask David to just kind of break it down and give y'all better clarification.
We've got 2 pumps at the hospital and one at lower 108 by the creek.
All are 38 horsepower flight motors, and all were installed in there probably between 2002 and 2004. And all three of these pumps, when we were doing routine maintenance check for the wire rings, we got to noticing all of them making, you know, pretty good noise. So we would like to have all three of those, one of the pumps at 108 and both of the hospital pumps rebuilt at hopefully a cost of $45,000 or less. So you're looking at about $15,000 per pump.
And the hope would be that it will come in less. I believe David and Lisa's identified some monies left over from some of the work at well number 3 that would hopefully get to about $30,000 in savings. And then we've consulted with Charlotte, and we've got some monies appropriated for valves that we could reduce that, still be able to do some of the valve work, but just essentially shave off $15,000 or so needed for that. And obviously, if it were to come in less than the 45, then that's just the additional savings for the valves.
Yeah.
And you said these have been in since 2002 or 2004?
Yes. Yeah, when basically everything that was in that area was put in. You know, during that area, the developers helped pay for a lot of that, and the city, you know, created, you know, a great district for our sewer up and down 515 during that area, during that time, which is really amazing, because you're looking at probably over $6 million worth of sewer expansion that was done in that area, in between the hospital and the racetrack.
Well, they've had a long life if they've been in that long.
Oh yes, for sewer pumps, that's extremely long.
Yeah.
Did we do a bunch of work down there or something else last year? What was that on, Dave?
Hospital?
No, below there. No?
It was,
Maybe
pumps.
golf or,
Years
yeah.
ago, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's five stations required to get it from racetrack back to the sewer plant.
David, what is the price difference between a new pump and a
Double.
rebuild?
So basically on all of them, basically you're either looking at
30,000 for new,
15 or 30. And this is the first rebuild for all of them too. So if it was second or third, you know, and your housing was probably starting to wear too, probably would suggest to go new. But being it's the first rebuild, it should be okay to, you should get 8-10 more years out of them.
That's really cheap.
Yes.
For 3 of them.
Yeah, and that 45, you know, like I say, it's just a rough estimate. It may come in, you know.
And 2 of those pump your leachate, or 3, 2 of them, that you were talking about rebuilding? Just 1?
No.
Really?
Yeah, because that was the rebuild
I
basically
thought,
we
okay.
done for, which would be Goss, and what y'all remember too
Now,
was
give me the names of
Liberty
them,
Lane.
give me the names again, I got confused.
You get racetrack to start, bottom 108.
Okay,
Top one,
back in the old days, they got a little bit, no, they never got racetrack.
Well, yeah, right to begin with, we put it in
Pulled
right
in
to
there.
racetrack.
Okay,
Yeah, and then everybody started having a hard time breathing going in racetrack. So we moved it to a location where the public wasn't around. Yes, well,
Mason.
yes. And we're gonna have to be moving that also.
You said the developers helped pay for the original ones there?
Developers paid over half to get the sewer from the racetrack back to the wastewater treatment plant. The landowners in that area, I can't remember all the names to begin with, but there's about 10 of them that paid over $1 million to
A
get.
little less than $1 million. I had to give some of it back.
I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, and they done a lot of the work too on the force mains and the lift stations too.
The project had about 8, 9 property owners, weren't necessarily developers, all of them, that made contributions $75,000 apiece. And then the city picked up the rest of it with a loan from Chief.
It allowed the city to annex all of the property from the racetrack back to town. Through that, you know, we have to annex to the town, the sewer. I don't think without that, there would have been many that would have fooled with it. But
All the area was Sackett's and racetrack area is part of that development.
yes, and, the residential too, on the backside of 108,
Yeah.
where Brandon lives.
Bethamore,
Yes, that was part of the project.
I've got you off.
Thank you, David.
Be on the agenda.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Mr. Mayor and council, this next item was added in light of some events that occurred this past Tuesday in regards to Cove Road. And I apologize for the rudeness in having my phone out, but I did in fact receive a proposal from them a few moments ago, the geostabilization firm that we had consulted with. As you recall, Tuesday evening, approximately 7 o'clock, we were notified that there was a rock slide in the vicinity of the first S-curve on Cove Road. It essentially spilled out onto the roadway, making it impassable. Police department shut the road down. Lonnie was kind of quarterbacking, getting some crews out at him, and subsequently the county's assistance with some large equipment, they acquiesced and kind of moved forward with getting that mobilized. And as we continued working on getting the road cleared, it was the decision, along with some others, consulted and felt it was prudent to wait until sunlight to determine if in fact it would be appropriate and safe to open up the road to through traffic. The county was gracious to provide us with a geostabilization firm. Specifically, the name of the company is, I don't want to mess this up, Geostabilization International. I will get tongue-tied, so I apologize. It's basically a geoengineer. We talked to this person. It's an international company, but this gentleman is local engineer PE out of Gwinnett. He was able to meet us on site a little before 8 the next morning, so just over 12 hours thereabouts, he was able to come out, do an assessment of the site, series of questions asked of what could be done to stabilize, what was apparent, some additional things that may fall. And he honored his commitment to get us a very quick proposal, just so that we could then be in a position to make a decision. I know the public will be interested in knowing cost, as you all are interested in, and time, and how much longer the road will be closed. It's my recommendation as the city manager to keep the road closed until such time as it can be stabilized as qualified by an engineer. And then there is some debris left on the toe of the ridge up against the barricade that has to be removed, and we can do that in-house to minimize some cost once the ridge is stabilized. Some of you I've been able to communicate with that their proposal, the least expensive method is they'd essentially have 4 individuals who do this frequently, rappelling off the cliff from 100, 150 feet up in a 100, 150 foot span. Basically, I'm calling it flaking, scaling. They'll put devices like an airbag or something in a crack to see if it pops off, and just to see what's going to continue to fall and get it off. At that point in time, they then feel comfortable releasing us to remove any of the debris on the ground, utilizing our equipment or the assistance of the county. I will say that this particular proposal, out of respect for the elected body, I do want you all to have a chance to review it. As a city manager, I've consulted with a third-party engineer to see about a few $100s I could pay to have them lay eyes on it, to validate the legitimacy of this, since it is an emergency situation. So my commitment is to have him look at it tomorrow, so that Monday, y'all can make a decision. It does appear as though that the cost, as in this proposal, is just under $100,000, specifically $95,000. There will be contingencies placed on it in terms of they're looking at a 6-day period of time to do the work. That could be less, it could be more. That's part of the unknown. I do feel comfortable revealing this because I know there is a lot of questions. But I believe that if council is comfortable with the idea as presented of the scaling, thank you, Mayor. I've been saying flaking, I don't know, whatever it is, it sounds weird, it just flakes it off. But, they are about to dispatch a crew to another job site, and this is not to rush the decision because I've already told them the decision cannot be made until Monday night, to my knowledge, unless there's something I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable without vetting this through y'all, through staff, and through a third-party entity. But it is something that I think is needed and prudent. So with that, the money, Lisa and I spoke. I believe there are options we could provide y'all. The most immediate and viable option would be that we have a road closed. And just on our property, there is an impediment that needs to be remedied, and utilizing transportation dollars through SPLOST, I think would be an option. And I think there's some monies available for that. As identified earlier, there's perhaps the paving the priority for the community, but I do think that with this number, we should be within a reasonable budget. There are other options we can identify for you all, enumerate for you on Monday if needed, just to make sure y'all have any and all, such as whether we look at other departments and essentially piecemeal it. That's why I was uncomfortable leading in with purchasing this, and this, and this, because there is the opportunity that if we wanted to forego some of the operational stuff, we could. But I want to provide y'all with options. A little more information I thought I was going to get, but wanted to share it with you.
Brandon, when Jim and I went up there, as you know, that we actually met with just so happened, the third party, Mr. Coleman was there. So we had an interesting conversation. He shed some light on some of his, well, he gave some input on the potential for maybe emergency funds and some other things. So he also had some concerns about the power lines running right there, and he talked with Jim about some of the solutions that would seem to make sense, but there are a couple of areas that are actually, one with a pretty significant looking fault where something more could fall with, who knows what caused this. And then there's one area up the hill too where we could have even more. So.
And I think from my perspective, what I wanted to make the commitment to the elected body and to the community is that there is an immediacy to this area, about 150 by 150 area that I think needs to be stabilized. I think there's evidence that there is going to be some more scaling, flaking, whatever. Thus far, I think it's been held off, but it's not not advisable to open up until that's done. And I think that moving forward, staff would look at if there's other areas that we can identify and budget for accordingly.
Did he give you an estimated time? You said something about earlier.
He did say that his company is about to dispatch the crew elsewhere. I did want to get a feel from you, Mayor, and the council, that if y'all are comfortable with me saying preliminarily this is something of priority, to please stand by without making a commitment, because we cannot legally until we're approved. But if they can't get to us until 2 or 3 weeks, that is something I don't think is palatable to the community, to keep that road closed. So if we could get them moving Tuesday of next week, if it's a 4 to 6 day work, and then by the following week after spring break, traffic should be flowing pretty well.
What about signage? Is that working out for you?
We're going to continue to look. The county assisted Lonnie in getting some signage. It's not foolproof. Councilmember and I were out there, and there was a vehicle that circumvented the barriers.
The concrete barriers,
and came through.
the cones,
And
the
I went,
signs.
He couldn't go up the hill, could he? He couldn't get all the way through.
That one they did. It's
Did
been,
they
it's been
really?
fixed since then.
And I think we need to, look
Stop it.
into, yeah. We actually, as far as I know, have you been overlooked?
No.
With all the land, we've
Yeah.
all had a chance to go over and look, and,
It's not safe.
you even mentioned, you went through a few minutes before, you mentioned that his kids and grandkids went through 10 minutes before. God only knows how many people went through minutes before.
Mhm.
I've got grandkids that I know, get shoveled through. It's a very, very highly traveled
It is.
road. I wouldn't feel comfortable with
What I'm
cleaning
getting-
the shoulder up and letting school
What
buses through.
what I'm getting at is a little signage starting here at City Hall. When people turn, it's too late, they gotta go around, turn around, come back. That's irritating for people who, it just creates a nightmare. Just a little, you know what to do. But let the public know that signage is coming. Lonnie, have you talked to anybody from the county, what you got for some lighting?
We've got this right below the housing development. That's a new sign that the county assisted me with and put up.
Good deal.
We have a sign as you turn on Cove Road.
Show that to the camera real close. I guarantee they'll appreciate it.
We have a sign just as you turn on Cove Road that says no through traffic.
Perfect, thank you so much.
As you go farther down, just as we turn off on Old Burnt Mountain, there's a sign that says road closed 1,000 feet. Blvd Construction has loaned us some of their signage.
You got some down still?
As you go on down, there's another sign that says road closed 500 feet.
Right.
And then right past Still Hollow, the right-hand lane has a sign and a barricade that said no through traffic.
Okay, well, what we're looking at though is that we all know how to get home or how to get to 136 or how to get to the other side. What I'm getting at is once you get somebody going on Burnt Mountain Road, you need to show them how to get to Grandview
Okay.
and how to get across the mountain. Because I promise you, the most irritating thing for the driving public is to be lost and not know. And everybody don't know where they're at. Even though Pickens County is small, they do get lost.
The county is assisting us on that. They went to the other side, on the Grandview side. They put signage up there and put signage directing with an arrow going out Grandview. And they were going to put a sign at 136 at Crossroads Church pointing back to Jasper.
Okay, going up Burnt Mountain Road, for example,
Right.
if you could put just a small sign that would give someone halfway up going to Hunter's Ridge detour, would make the person feel really good that didn't know where they were.
That's no problem.
So,
No problem.
Yes, sir.
The biggest key for me, and the biggest key for me, and Brandon's gonna get sick of me saying this, phone calls, text messages, and social media. If we could clearly communicate on a consistent basis with the public, let them know where the detour is, and at this point, since we know a rough estimate of a timeline, let's publicize it. I want the public to be aware that it is closed. Here's how you get around it from either direction. It would be nice to have the step-by-step directions from each road. And then also the estimate of, folks, let's go ahead and plan on this being closed for X amount of time. What I've been telling people is an extended period of time. Well, their perception of extended period is different than mine, because they've been calling me all day.
Well,
I'm with Tony on
I don't know if we want to
safety.
give out time or not.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm just saying,
But we can give the robocalls, do them at 6 and 7, you know, so it won't mess people up, give them a chance to get home.
Well, it impacts more than just
Yeah, the locals, we can talk about the.
at the intersection of Tate backs up to the top of the hill, because that road took a lot of traffic.
The only thing I would kind of be reluctant about time is.
Oh, we don't know.
Yeah,
And then the other thing is the people coming up from Atlanta, going out, Cove, going out,
Yeah,
they won't know about it.
and the truth
Unless
really,
it's all-
That's where the little signs
yeah.
to get them around Granby.
And the reason
They're so,
I say
we see them
timeline,
all the time, they don't do anything for them.
yeah, the reason I say timeline, I've had people ask me, will it be open by this weekend? And my answer is probably not. Well, then they keep checking back every day. If we can tell them, folks, we're looking at a couple of weeks for this, possibly, or, just a rough estimate, give or take, and they understand the give or
Or
take.
until we get evaluation.
Well,
If we set a certain date, they're gonna expect that certain.
Well, I'm not saying a date.
I think what we should do about time is hold off the time until maybe Monday night when Brandon gets in touch with these folks. When they can tell us a date that they'll be here, and of course, they're not gonna be able, they might say, well, we'll be done in 2 days, well, then it takes 4.
Yes.
But if we know the date that they're
What
gonna be here.
we're giving up is an opportunity to search for some grant or other funding that might be available. So to expedite this, in order to make it convenient for people who actually don't live in Jasper, but actually want to get home to the country in Big Canoe and Cove Road area. So they've got to bear with us, because we're still hitting our budget pretty hard.
Well, and I feel for the people that's having to, I feel for Katie Gary Reese that lives at the top of the hill, they're having to go 6 miles out of the way to get home. I mean, I feel for all of them,
It's not a bad detour though,
But-
unfortunate that.
but, in the end result here,
Is safety
Yeah.
is our main
Yeah,
concern,
exactly.
and I think everybody needs to understand
yeah,
that.
exactly.
We've been dreading that slide for years, and no one didn't know where it's going to happen, because that road was built in the
We've been
mid to late
extremely-
'60s.
We've been extremely lucky.
And they blasted that thing off the side of the mountain without any regard for
Should have
slides.
never been left like that. When Georgia Marble got through safety-wise, somebody should have done something at that point in time, whenever they shut their operation down. It shouldn't have been left like that. But that's
Probably
neither-
with hindsight,
neither here nor there.
not knowing what it's gonna cost. And we actually bought land on both sides of the road going up through there, so it's why we end up with a road. It wasn't county, but it could be a heck of a cul-de-sac.
But I will say from a staff perspective, I'm extremely pleased and happy to report to the public that our staff, Lonnie and the team in the county, from the time that this occurred to the time that the geoengineer visited, and from the time that we're getting this proposal, and you all getting in a prepared place to make a decision, is very, very quick. And I think safety first, but then the expense is something that I've made sure to let folks know that we'll be mindful of that, because there were too many unknowns for the last couple of days. I think now that we have a general knowledge that it is a manageable cost, I think makes some of us feel better. And to Councilman Proctor's point, I think we will at staff present you all with ideas for looking at other places that may need attention in the future.
I'm not claiming to be an engineer, but the area that slid off is safer than other spots going up that hill. Most of the damage came off where it occurred that night. You go around that corner, we've been looking at other areas way more than this area.
Yeah, the hill there's one that's kind of hanging over the road.
Exactly, that needs to be
We
taken
have
care
to
of
slide
now.
it this
Well,
fall.
that's what we're right across tomorrow.
The work they gotta do up there where it came off is limited compared on around, so that's where they gotta be spending most of their time.
So the best way to proceed with to move forward. I know we can't vote on it, but.
I think what I've heard tonight at the staff level is I'll commit to letting the person know that we will have to vet this proposal, that it is an attractive offer, and that the work being proposed does appear to be in line with what some of you experienced before is needed. And then I'm going to have to get with city staff and some county assistants to then see what capabilities we have to, once that stuff is down on the ground, how we're going to strategize and move it. Because once it's stable, we are going to absorb the cost of moving it out of the way. Right. So I'm going to just let them know that that it will be considered on Monday night's agenda. But I think we feel a little better. I feel a little better because when I was talking to Lisa this morning, I didn't know exactly what the cost would be, and so we'll try to keep them around to that way not let them be dispatched. It's 2 or 3 weeks before they can get to us. And with that, Mayor and Council, we did have an item come in. I think you have an email where there's a gentleman who in the past has Pickens County Sportsman's Club utilized that general area for the fishing rodeo. I believe they would like to come visit y'all Monday evening or whether they come or whether you all just consider approving to allow them to do it again May 8th through May 11th. I'm not sure, Lonnie, if you have any further insight on the
It's usually the first or second week of May.
But if Mayor, if that's okay to put to the agenda, we'll add that.
So he'll be here Monday night?
I think so, yes, sir. And we do, Mr. Mayor, have one item that was in your packet. I think Lonnie had a brief update on an item you had asked about, Living Word.
Out at Living Word Church, you had called me about the ditch and everything. I went out there and watched the water actually run. The ditch and under the culvert of the driveway was actually deeper and had actually filled up in the middle. So city staff went out there, Adam and I went out there and checked it a couple of times. And so when the rain stopped, we ditched that road. It is a city street. We ditched it, we put riprap in it 2 or 3 times, and we put riprap around the mouth of the culvert pipe that goes in under the church's driveway. So that is completed and should not have no more problems.
And with that, I do know Ms. Ann had something of interest as the mayor and council items of interest. And I will let her take it away. You've got some photographs, perhaps?
Jackson, we got some more.
Oh, you got some more? Oh, okay.
Yonder, you get a package all of your own, and Kurt, you guys can share. Share. Tone, yeah, they're a little bit different. One of the things I'd like to show you, on the first one that I gave you, this map of the park. This is George Wigington Park, and remember we talked about doing some things, and the first thing that we were going to do was to put gates on it. You'll now notice that we have 3 gates. The 3rd gate is just now being finished. I think you have a picture of the post in place. So you've got the gate at the that's Lumber Company Road, and then Jeanette or however you pronounce it, and then this one to the north here. The people had complained that some of the kids were getting in there and cutting donuts and whatever, so we decided to go ahead and put a gate on that one as well.
Well, it's okay, I took the keys away from Kurt, it's all right.
Oh, is that what it was, the children? But so you can see that the posts are in place right now, and this gate should be done within a week. There's a picture in the package I gave you of what the gate looks like. This is the gate on Jeanette that is down here. It is where the big parking lot is. These gates are very nice. Jeff McCowan built them for us. He's been building gates for me around the United States, and I think they're beautiful. So we have that one there. We have the one over on Lumber Company Road, and now we will have this 3rd one. We've had them unlocked. I think probably what we need to do at some point in time, and I talked with Jim Looney about this, remember it was proposed that we shut the park down at night, and we put a sign that says closes at dusk and reopens it. So to have a lock on those so someone can go and lock the gate at dusk and then open it up first thing in the morning. The reason we wanted to do that, it wasn't necessarily that, or to the best of my knowledge, that there was unauthorized access. It was just to give people the comfort of that there was a presence there. So this is, the gates are in place. What I'd like to do is I'd like to proceed with the park aspect. If you will look on the next shot there, you've got what's called a chimney swift tower. So the chimney swift tower kind of doubles as a kiosk. So what you have is a 12-foot chimney surrounded by a 4x4 kiosk. Now the chimney, and I think I sent videos to most of you, the chimney swifts have basically lost their habitat. People don't have chimneys anymore. They don't have areas to nest. And these little roosting towers, and it takes a while for them to weather in and for the animals to realize that they're there, but they're very popular in regards to birding areas. And so what we want to do is we want to establish Doris Wigington not just as a park, but also as a birding area. And what I would like to do, and if you will look on this one, this is kind of a rendition. I hope that this map will serve as a you are here when we get to the point. So you'll see the trails there, the parking lots, and the two chimney swift towers. There are 3 open spots, or what I'm calling open spaces. They're all at the southern end of the park. One is an area where there was some topsoil removed. One was an area just around the corner, and one is where a wetland area is. So what I would like to do, and they're already under construction, is to put those towers at, and what that is open space 1 and open space 3. So they will go ahead and establish those places there. What I would also like to do, and I sent you pictures, and Ann may have printed them, what I'd like to do on open space 1 is to build a 3-panel fence on the eastern, no, I think it's the western side, between the railroad track and the trail. And what that does, it kind of gives a visual buffer between the railroad track and the houses beyond. But what I'm hoping to do is to be able, in open space 1, to put some fencing around there where we can put trumpet flowers, coral honeysuckle, and milkweed, to where the open spaces are going to be utilized by nectar feeding birds and hopefully monarch butterflies as well. So this is going to double as an open space for wildlife habitat. The other swift tower will be down at number 3, and what I'd like to do is to do the same thing down there. Now those spots, those 1 and 3 are drastically different. 3 does have a beautiful wetland down there. So I think that would be one heck of a way to start this park off, is just by having the gates in place, these new chimney swift towers, and then having, and you'll see that I've called this the Doris Wigington Wildlife Sanctuary. What I found out, and I was examining, what do you have to do to become a birding preserve? And you can just basically call yourself a birding preserve. But if you plunk down $100 at the Audubon Society, you can become a wildlife sanctuary if you meet certain things. 1 is that it has to be of certain size. 2 is that it has to be relatively natural habitat. 3 is that it has to have water. And I think that all we have to do is just more or less go through the application process. They want this map, which we've already got that done. So Doris Wigington Park becomes Doris Wigington Wildlife Sanctuary, and we opened it up just like this, and we began to have some officer that would open the park in the morning and close it at night.
Is the land area big, does it qualify, is it big enough?
It is, but actually told me the land acreage is only like 0.5 acres, that you could have a wildlife sanctuary at that size, and this is a huge place, so I think it's going to be a foregone conclusion.
What's the total space?
It's 60-some acres.
A little bit better. 60.
Yeah, I think it's 67 acres if I'm not mistaken. It's a huge place. And I was talking with there were some people out there that were walking, and I asked them, I said, are you enjoying this? And, oh yeah, they do it every day. There's some women that walk the park, and I asked them, I said, are there any problems? And they said, well, the kids come down here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, well, if I was a kid, I'd go down there too. I don't think we want to push the kids out of there, but I think that once we begin to have a presence there of having the gates and having the stuff begin to occur where we're starting the wildlife habitat, that I think people will begin to take notice. Most people still don't even know the park's there.
A lot of people don't.
They just don't, so.
Trying to keep it secret.
Now, I'm familiar with it, so
It's a great place to walk, I promise.
it
It
is,
is, it's
it
wonderful.
is.
And
The
it's
potential
cheap
is-
too.
Yes, it is.
The potential is certainly there.
That's not that steep, you know.
It
you
is
wanna
to
go-
me.
You wanna go over two of those hills, but it's not that bad.
You have the 3 entrances,
Yes,
and the question is, when you go in to put these in place,
yes.
you would probably use a small entrance right down here at that bridge.
That's probably where the construction crews would come in from. The one problem that we're going to have, and James from Whispering Springs, what's that?
That's the
Pardon,
steep
John,
hill.
that is a steep hill, but James from Whispering Springs was asking if we could get water up there. And he probably would like some topsoil up there too, because the topsoil got taken away. So,
It is, but that, we want to build a picnic area there, we're kind of flat, isn't it?
and it could, and it's big, I mean, it's a huge place. So what I thought would be, we'd have a 3-panel fence on the side where there's a rock, I mean, there's a little bit of a ridge between the railroad track and whatever, what's that called? That's not Arbor Hills. And then on the other side, we also have the 3-panel fence to go around there. You've got pedestrian entrances, and I don't know that ATVs or anything have been going in there, but the pedestrian entrance would limit the access just to people on foot. And in there, you put a picnic bench, you put this chimney swift tower, you put flowers in there so people can enjoy that. And I think this double of using milkweed and having the monarch butterflies, everybody's gonna.
Well, I'd like to see us maybe put some Blvd up there on that lot. That way you're bringing the other types of birds and,
Right.
and such, and then, I know it sounds crazy, but sugar cane, just a few pieces of sugar cane.
Well, and there's-
How that goes.
John, once we get this established, and I don't think that we're gonna plant the whole thing.
Oh,
I think once we get it established, then we can do it piecemeal and begin to put
But
things in.
Blvd is easy now.
So, and once we get this wildlife sanctuary designation, I believe that people will start knowing about it. We shake the pom-pom in a vigorous manner and become part of the Audubon sanctuary
So
process.
do we have any plans for securing that entrance? It is
We-
large enough for vehicles.
we
There's
could.
a spot to park, there's a spot to turn around. It's not near as large as these others.
Kirk, we could, the gates are not cost prohibitive, they're about $2,700 a piece. And if we needed to, we could put one there, but I'm not seeing that unauthorized access is a problem. It could be, and it may be, once we put the other gates, people might say, well, heck with you guys.
With your headphones in, turn around and see an F-150 behind you.
I've had the privilege of kind of looking at it, and quite candidly, this was something I didn't know about until probably week 2, and I was very pleasantly surprised to have this asset in our community. And I think our crews are gonna start trimming out and thinning out some endemic brush, and, you know, Dr. Keller's commitment to kind of doing this and y'all's foresight into it. I've looked at, you know, we could possibly put some sort of bollards or something that could prohibit, or some rock.
Well, the people seem to like that.
Where would we get such
It's a natural.
So to prohibit some vehicular movement through there. But I, for one, as a staff person, commend you all. I'm excited about this being in our community, and I think I've probably said some things to some people about, I love this kind of stuff. I'm not much of a runner, but I love the idea of it.
This is a great opportunity.
Well,
Meaningful Eagle projects is
Yes, it
something
is.
that gets.
So many things
Some
are
of
gonna spread.
some of the projects were just kind of things that,
And the thing
this would
is,
be some meaningful
it'd
stuff.
be good, we
that
can get
have
with the
time.
high school.
Well, I don't want to sound offensive, but this property at one time was going to be an industrial park. It was set aside as an industrial park. The city council, 6 years ago or 7 years ago, voted to move forward with this and convert it to a park. And of course, the people at Arbor Hill never has really appreciated it because it could have been a factory over there. But we were going to, this was going to be originally the hub where you could actually get on a trail and come all the way to town. But we spent $100,000 of federal government money building those trails in there, and it took all summer long for that project. And it was quite an effort from the staff at that time and the council at that time. And, but it wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for those people, so appreciate you, Doc, moving it forward, but that was phase one, get it built, moving, and of course, after that, there was other issues that came along, and we're not, I never have had an apology for Doris Wiggin Park. It's the best nature trail in North Georgia. I think it's better than Unicoi, and it's not anywhere near steep. They're right here in the middle of Jasper, Georgia.
I just think there's so many people that don't have any idea that it's there.
But will we get ones out of bond and getting the word out?
Well, there's gonna be some
Well,
publicity on it, but
Yeah.
it's there.
Oh, yeah.
We could always look in the future for signage, because it's not that far from
I
Highway
wouldn't give
5.
Lonnie any credit for his signs and all the work he did.
I mean, you know, it's not that far from old Highway 5 up here, where you turn and go out to Harbor Hills. I mean, in the future, we could always look for signage.
Well, and in the defense of Doris Wigington Park, most people don't know we have an airport either, so.
Yeah, well, that's true.
What's that race where people dress up, they jump across barbed wire and get shot and everything?
Yeah,
They contacted one time, wanted to do that. What do they call it?
I've done the Savage, you
Yeah.
got Sparkman.
That'd be a great place for one of those events.
Lonnie,
Thank you.
One thing, Dr. Keller, you were talking about a fence between the railroad track and Arbor Hills?
Yes.
Okay. did you go-
No, between the railroad track and the trail. The other side, this side of the
He
road.
knows it's just on the right
Something
of
that I have been working on since the end of last summer is if you go to the bridge on Lumber County Road and the main, what I call the main entrance to the park, across the railroad track, it was brought to my attention that there was a large, I mean very large amount of water gathered in there every time it rains, and it stays there, it don't go away.
It's on the track.
It was on the railroad track right away. Mosquitoes became a very large problem. So I contacted the railroad, which we had a new company buy this railroad at that time. They were very eager to work with us and fix the problem. So I've been working with them, and we even, at that particular time, I took Jim out to the Doris Wiggin Park, and on the far end, next to the railroad track, there's a place there where dirt was got and helped to level. It's an embankment. So the railroad company really loved that area. They were gonna put a pipe in and bring their train dump truck down to that area, load some dirt and take it down and put it in this wet area to get rid of the mosquitoes. Well, since that point, they've changed supervisors for this area about 4 times. And I have a, well, I just won't be
Go ahead.
I've got to call in to the new supervisor for this area, and he's aware of the problem, and so we'll be working on that also.
I'm just kidding. Real quick, I know everybody's getting hurried. Thanks, Doc. Anybody else in council want to discuss anything specifically? Real quick, you might recall Josh Patterson, the police officer that was injured. I think, Brandon, you're looking into it, and I understand he was left off the vacation last year as well as his insurance.
it's been remedied.
Has it really?
Yes.
Okay, so I contacted him, tell him, has he been told yet?
It should have already been, but if not, you.
Okay, I'll do it, okay. Next thing, Lonnie, what about the mask arms?
Okay, met with a company, they were over at the community bank, just this week. They were cutting a hole in 53 or Church Street, trying to find the gas line. Their equipment, they went through 4 layers of asphalt and concrete.
In front of the bank?
In front of the bank, and their machine tore up, so they're coming back next week. The mass arms are supposed to be delivered to the construction company at the end of this week or by the middle of next week, and they will be moving in here to build the foundations for these mass arms in the next week or 2.
Okay. They think they're having trouble there waiting to get to 53 in Maine. The next thing is, what about update on 53 widening into Maine?
Okay, that program has, I talked to the lady, I found the lady that is actually over this project, and I asked for a new map, and she said one was being designed as we spoke. Okay. So she's going to get us a new one. There'll be a public hearing probably in May, June, or July.
Okay. And with that, council, we have a lawsuit that's facing us, and we'll be having a closed session at the council meeting. Put that on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Council.
Thank you, council.